God does not always meet us within the assumptions we carry about how life should go. Often, God meets us beyond these assumptions, especially in those moments when what once seemed certain falls away, and we're left trying to make sense of something that we did not see coming. There are moments in life like this: a conversation, a diagnosis, a loss that we were not prepared for. And suddenly, the story that we thought we were living no longer makes the same kind of sense. God does indeed meet us in these moments, but not always exactly where we were expecting. There's a problem-solving approach that's known as assumption reversal. And it suggests that when we feel stuck, one way forward is to take an assumption that we're holding and flip it on its head. That in doing so, we might see that what we've treated as a fact might not be as fixed or as true as we once believed. If we assume that strength means never falling apart, for example, reversing that assumption might help us discover that perhaps our strongest moments are those in which we're most vulnerable with someone. I've found myself returning to this idea of assumption reversal as I've spent time with this morning's gospel story. These two disciples are walking the road from Jerusalem to Emmaus on the very day of Jesus' resurrection. They've heard what happened, but they can't make sense of it. We had hoped, they say. It's a simple sentiment, but it carries an awful lot: disappointment, confusion, grief. The cross did not align with their understanding of how things were meant to unfold, and so they take off on a walk, carrying not only their sorrow, but also the deep disorientation that comes when the story you trust no longer holds. As they go on this walk, Jesus draws near to them, though they don't recognize him. He listens attentively, he keeps pace with them, and gradually over the course of their walk, he begins to expand their understanding of what has happened by helping them see that God has been present and at work in ways that were beyond their assumptions. Later at the table, Jesus takes bread, blesses it, gives it to them. And it's in this familiar action that their eyes are opened. Afterwards, they'll say, "Were not our hearts burning within us?" It's as if they feel something shift inside of them before they are able to fully explain it. We often think of understanding as something that happens only in our mind. But I think this gospel suggests otherwise. I think it shows us that understanding can also take root in our hearts. There is a kind of knowing that we can feel before we put it into words. We know this experience. There are moments when something stirs inside of us, when our hearts feel unexpectedly warm or alive, or maybe they feel heavy and they slow down. And even if we don't yet have the words for it, we sense that the moment matters. I find myself deeply relating to these two men, as I do with anyone trying to navigate the disorientation that follows loss. Some of you may be on that kind of journey right now. Grief lingers. It leaves a long wake. And in that wake, at least for me, it's not always clear what to believe. Sometimes all we can name is the heaviness that we feel and we carry. And yet, alongside that heaviness, if we're trying to pay attention, we may begin to sense something else quietly stirring within us even before we have the words to name it. A gentle pull towards new life. We spend a lot of our energy trying to make sense of our lives through our existing assumptions. Those assumptions matter, but at times they can also limit us, keeping us from noticing when God is doing something new that we didn't expect or that we don't yet understand, or maybe even that we want to resist. In that sense, resurrection is a kind of holy assumption reversal. What looks like an ending has become a beginning. What feels like failure has become the place where new life is emerging. When life unsettles us, the easy thing to do is to assume that nothing good can come from it. That loss will only lead to more loss, that whatever comes next can't mean as much as what we've lost. Those assumptions can feel true, but it doesn't mean that they are true. What feels like the end might be the very place where God is beginning something new. Even in seasons shaped by grief, something within us might be quietly stirring to life. I'm not trying to say that everything happens for a reason or that every loss can be neatly resolved. I don't think that's the case. The disciples still had to walk their road. They still carried their grief. The call before us is not to know everything or to have all of the answers, but to stay open enough, present enough, brave enough to trust that what feels like the end might actually be the place where God is beginning again. In the name of God, amen.